The heavy toll of heroin in Quinhagak, where in just one day last year, there were 4 overdoses.
Because we miss her every day.
Jamie Roberts did not survive. What investigators discovered about her case, the first of its kind in Alaska.
You never know what you're getting with heroin.
What we can learn from Quinhagak, a small community that suddenly had a big problem.
That's exactly it. Get in front of it before it gets out of hand.
Ahead, blindsided by heroin, a battle we can't afford to lose.
Sponsorship for Frontiers with Rhonda McBride is provided by your local Alaska Toyota dealers. Toyota, let's go places. Alaska, where there are old triumphs, but also new frontiers. With challenges as great as the state itself, but a belief the best is yet to come. Bringing you the faces, the places, and the spirit of the last frontier. This is Frontiers with Rhonda McBride.
Welcome to Frontiers, as we explore the spread of heroin across our state, even in places like Quinhagak. The community is in southwest Alaska on the eastern shore of the Kuskokwim Bay. About 700 people live there. It's well known for its sports fishermen, for its incredible salmon runs, never until recently for the drug heroin. The warning bells came too late for Jamie Roberts. She died last August after a fatal dose of heroin cut with another dangerous opiate, fentanyl. What did that drug take from you?
My daughter. I didn't think it would happen to my own kid.
Phyllis Roberts says Jamie would have celebrated her 20th birthday in March.
She used to like to go riding and berry picking. She used to love cutting fish, helping other people.
Jamie liked to babysit for her sister Vera and make funny faces.
I always feel like she's always there looking at me.
There's also Jamie's beloved cat, Kitty, a reminder that Jamie had only one life to live. Her mom and her sister believe it may have been the first time she tried heroin.
You don't even know what it looks like, or... Me too, I don't even know what it looks like.
For those who have never seen heroin, here are some photos from past trooper cases. Lab tests show Jamie was killed by a mixture of heroin and fentanyl, 50 to 100 times more powerful than morphine. In fact, state troopers say the drugs seized in Quinhagak were even more potent than what you see here because they had more fentanyl than heroin. The first time they've uncovered such a lethal combination in Alaska.
So if you get a low-quality heroin, they'll put fentanyl in it to give it a bump.
Lieutenant Gonzalez says fentanyl is so powerful and so unpredictable, it's like Russian roulette.
If you had two piles sitting in front of you, just usually with a naked eye, you couldn't tell which one's going to kill you and which one's going to be a dose that's going to make you high.
Lieutenant Gonzalez oversees the trooper post in Bethel, where most of the drugs come through before they filter out to the villages.
And the way it works is here's Bethel, this is where we are.
Troopers have been alarmed at how quickly heroin is spread from here to some of the state's most remote communities.
So there's Bethel, and then down to Quinhagak.
Just 70 air miles away, about a half-an-hour flight from Bethel.
Right now, what we're seeing is that 1/10 of a gram of heroin is got a village price, or a price in the villages of between $80 and $100.
$80 to $100, cheaper in most cases than bootleg alcohol, which runs between $150 to $350 a bottle. Quinhagak is used to dealing with alcohol abuse because drinking is usually out in the open, but heroin users hide out from watchful eyes who might shine a light on their addiction. Quinhagak was completely blindsided on the day Jamie died. There were 3 other overdoses which caught the health clinic unprepared. At the time, they didn't even have naloxone, a drug used to treat narcotic overdoses, because here in Quinhagak, there was never any need for it. Now, health aides like Martha Nicolai and her daughter Elsie feel differently. Do you think every village needs to have those now?
Yes.
Brandon, one of the young men who smoked heroin on the day Jamie died, agreed to talk with us, but said he didn't want to show his face on camera because he feels too ashamed.
While I was walking, all of a sudden I heard a trumpet go off.
Brandon says he had a near-death experience after he arrived at the clinic with no pulse. He said he had a vision of a golden gate where his late grandparents stood, but a voice told him it wasn't his time.
I just flung back. I just flew back like really fast, and I felt myself go back into my body, and that's when I woke up at the clinic.
Brandon believes he came back from the dead.
My mom was the one that revived me. She is the first person that found me. I was lucky because it was within a few minutes of it happening, and she actually thought I was choking because I was all blue already.
It was the very first time you'd ever tried heroin?
It can be one hit, it can be three. That's where I had 3 hits, and that ended my life for a brief moment.
A moment that has put Brandon on a new path.
I try to stay away from people that are doing something like that. And you know, having a second chance, I know there's a God because I was there, and I really believe.
The word Quinhagak means new river, a fitting name for a community ready to put heroin in the past. Up next, lessons learned from Quinhagak.
Before there was a death in the village, we already knew there was heroin in the village.
Also ahead, how the governor has declared war on opiates.
You and I.
My brother and I have always been rivals. We would dream about racing each other in Monaco. We were born brothers. Competition made us friends. Wish bold in a 2017 Camry. Toyota, let's go places.
The Three Barons Renaissance Fair is coming.
June 3rd and 4th, and June 10th and 11th.
A place filled with laughter and happiness.
Where toes will tap and skirts will swirl as music fills the air.
Watch the Three Barons, red, blue, and green, battle on the field of honor.
Visit our gaming tent.
Discover our historic village.
Visit a court to see a show.
Watch pirates sing and dance.
Toss tomatoes at our Shakespearean actors.
And join in our daily costume contest.
The Three Barons Renaissance Fair.
2 weekends, June 3rd and 4th, and 10th and 11th.
Noon to 8 p.m.
Visit threebarons.org.
You want to burn today? Get a burn permit. They are free and required. Call the Burn Permit Advisory Line to check for suspensions and weather. Do not burn anything toxic. Stay 30 feet away from structures and utility lines. Clear vegetation to burn permit requirements. Have tools and water ready to use. Make sure you have time to stay with the fire until it's 100% out. 3 out of 4 fires in Alaska are human-caused. Be a good neighbor and follow safe burning requirements.
We are artists. We are athletes. We are many things, but drugs do not define us. It's a fact. 85% of Alaska Native and American Indian people don't use illegal drugs. For more resources on building a healthy life, visit anthc.org/weare.
Governor Bill Walker declared a state opioid disaster this week. The governor signed an administrative order which requires all departments to join in the fight against heroin and opioid abuse in Alaska. Walker will set up an incident command system headed by the state's chief medical officer with weekly meetings to track progress. The governor says the main reason he made the disaster declaration is to get federal funding to distribute heroin overdose drugs, mainly naloxone, to the public. Charges for arrests for heroin and opioids reflects the magnitude of this crisis. Statewide, troopers have seen a big jump in those numbers. In 2013, there were 151. The next year, 209, and then 233 in 2015. When it comes to drug dealers, Quinhagak has resorted to an old practice, banishment. Last September, the tribe ordered 6 suspected dealers to leave, one of many ways that this community is fighting back.
Everything that you want to go out and hunt for or go out and gather, it's all right here.
Michelle Matthews says the view from here always gives her a sense of peace.
My aunt owns this parcel.
In the nearby Kilbuck Mountains, there are caribou and moose. In the summer, fish, berries, and greens. Heroin is not a part of this world.
It's not me, you know, it's not us. And when you're talking about your whole community, it's something you want to be proud of.
1, 2, 3, 4. The whole community turns out to watch the Quinhagak Seahawks take on the Tuntatuliak Wolverines. Community leaders like Michelle Matthew and Martha Nicolai, a health aide, believe time is of the essence to educate the community about heroin before this next generation of kids is tempted to try it. Last summer, in the wake of Jamie Roberts' death and multiple heroin overdoses, the community held a demonstration to put drug dealers on notice. Quinhagak is fighting back.
Take note, if you know there's heroin in the village, act on it. Do not wait until it's too late.
This is a joint meeting of tribal and city council members. It's fascinating to watch how people seamlessly switch back and forth between Yupik and English.
She was crying. They're taking him out on a stretcher and he's not breathing.
The mayor talks about how she first learned about the overdoses from text messages.
In reality, if we want to finger point, it's all our fault.
She says ignorance about heroin is no longer an excuse. Emily Friendly says the damage can be permanent, if not fatal.
I was one of the people there.
Darren Cleveland says he didn't realize how dangerous the drug is until he responded to the overdoses last August.
I hauled them, transported them. I couldn't believe that was happening one after the other.
Cleveland says you need to report users, even if they're members of your own family, because that's what you do if you truly love them.
There was only a handful of people.
Matthew pushed for more events to educate the community about the dangers of heroin.
Was the community blindsided by this?
I think so.
Matthew believes it's important that the community also get heroin users into treatment as quickly as possible.
Bad medicine.
The good medicine, she says, needs to come from the community. Until recently, many believed Quinhagak was the last place on earth you'd find heroin. They hope others can learn from this community story, a story of tragedy, but also a story of hope. Alaskans from all walks of life have been blindsided by heroin. Families, friends, devastated by the loss of their loved ones, including Lisa Souter, who joins us now. Thanks for being here. You know, you're very well known in our state for your work helping to feed the hungry, being head of Beans Cafe. But many people would be surprised to learn that you lost someone to a heroin overdose, your son.
I did. On December 3rd, my son died of a heroin overdose in our home.
So tell us, about some of Tucker's circumstances that led to this overdose.
Sure. He had battled with anxiety and depression most of his life, but, he was a great kid. He was a high school athlete. He had a ton of friends, had a great life, very loving, supportive family, but he struggled with issues, and he turned to substance abuse as a teenager and dabbled in a variety of subjects and different drugs, but we kept supporting him, and he really seemed like he was on track. He graduated from high school. He went to Oregon to attend college and had an accident, and I think he was prescribed opioids, and that kind of got him back on the drug path again.
And that is one of the things that we're seeing, is that because people can't get the opioids, then they turn to heroin.
Yes.
Now, I want to take a look at some numbers that we have from the state epidemiology department, looking at the growth in overdose deaths. I mean, in 2014, 40, the next year, 52, and then for 2016, we've only got data up until September, so that's 30, and the experts think that, you know, by the end of the year, it'll be right up there.
Yeah, I've heard numbers as high as 120 in the state of Alaska last year for deaths related to opioids.
So we're going to be shocked when the final numbers come
and
out.
you know, a lot of it depends on the toxicology and how long it takes to get that back. We still don't have the toxicology on our son.
Do you suspect that fentanyl could have been a factor?
I think it could have been. I don't know, not having the report yet. But you know, Tucker had been a pretty hardcore IV drug user for many years and had never OD'd before. So we didn't know he was using again. He'd had some pretty significant health issues and had actually had open heart surgery and had come home to recover. And so it definitely could have come into play. We really don't know.
No, not to stereotype things, but I think in our minds, the general public's mind, that heroin is something that, you know, that's at the street level. You know, addicts, junkies living in rat holes and in big cities. You know, they don't think of it as something that hits middle-class families, but in our state, that appears to be the case.
Yes, not only in our state, but really nationwide. We're seeing more of that, especially kids that are in that, you know, 20 to 24-year-old range. For whatever reason, seem to be particularly vulnerable to this drug. You know, my son did end up being a homeless heroin addict in Oregon, and luckily was able to come home and reconnect with us. But it's a very difficult addiction to kick, and I truly believe that, you know, the dose of heroin that killed my son was not his last one, but his first one.
So what about the, you know, the parents of families, you know, that just never dreamed that their kids would engage in this kind of risky behavior?
No, nobody ever expects their child to end up in this position, that's for sure. But I think that we all have to be aware of the dangers of it. We have to talk with our kids. We have to make sure we don't have medications easily accessible to them in our homes. You know, that's one thing the state is putting out, both unused medication kits that people can neutralize the drugs.
Hold that up so we can take a look at this.
Sure. Dr. Butler was able to obtain 25,000 of these kits that are going to be distributed, and this is a great way for people to dispose of prescription drugs in their own home, you know, rather than having to attend one of the drug take-backs, which happen a couple of times a year, which is another great option.
What happens with those leftover drugs sometimes?
A lot of times they fall into the wrong hands. You know, whether you even have little kids and you think, well, my child's only in 2nd or 3rd grade, certainly I don't have to worry about having a bottle of Oxy in my bathroom cabinet. Everyone has to worry about it, because you don't know the babysitter, the kid who mows your lawn and comes in and uses your bathroom, anybody that may come into your home. You just don't know. So keep your medications locked up, and when you're done with them, properly dispose of them. And this is a really easy way to do that with no environmental impact.
Well, you're really happy that the governor is getting behind this effort to distribute naloxone, and you brought a sample kit for us.
I did. This is so important that these are in the hands of family members, of loved ones of addicts, of people that are experiencing use right now, whether they're in recovery or they're not. Having one of these kits in your home could save somebody's life. It's very simple to administer. It's simply a nasal spray. This kit contains 2 doses of it. You know, of course, you always want to call 911 first. They will walk you through CPR if you don't know it. They'll tell you how to administer this. There's a very easy instruction booklet. There's gloves. You know, I plan on carrying one of these kits with me everywhere I go now.
And you're going to have them available.
And we will have them available at Beans Cafe. You know, there's very simple instructions to follow. It's not complicated. Even if somebody's not English speaking, they can follow the photos contained in the directions, and it will give someone a chance to recover.
Well, one thing we do want to show you are some photographs that the state troopers provided us from evidence photos from past cases that have already been adjudicated, because most people have no idea what this stuff looks like. That's fentanyl there. That's the drug that's 50 times 100 times more powerful than morphine.
And you're probably not going to see fentanyl in your home, or if you have somebody in your family that's using, that's typically the dealers have that and they're cutting it into the heroin.
And that to me seems so unscrupulous because they're cutting it into cheap, low-grade heroin.
You just truly don't know. You know, any drug that you're buying on the street, you never know what it truly contains. And, you know, one dose can kill you, and we're seeing that over and over where people are dying from the first time they try this drug. And I think that's the message we have to get out to our young people is don't try it. It's not worth it. You don't know what's in it. Just don't do it.
Yeah, and just before we leave, you found your son, or your family did, in your home.
Yes.
How was that?
Devastating. You know, to lose a child is devastating no matter what the circumstances. But we do feel fortunate that he did, you know, recover enough from some of his medical issues to come home and reunite with us, because really for 3 years we were estranged from him. So as difficult as it's been, we're trying to make some good out of it. And I think it's important for people to talk about it. I can't believe how many people have reached out to me and shared their stories of their son or their sister or, you know, their boyfriend, and they had no idea that they were even using.
Well, Lisa, I want to very much thank you for being here to share your story. It takes a lot of courage. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, still ahead, the Kenai Peninsula, another battleground in the war against addiction.
The women getting out of prison, they would come up to me and say, Jen, do you know anywhere I can go?
How one Soldotna woman wants to help others leave their addictions behind.
I just want cremation.
Cremation specialist in Alaska.
Can I have a service before cremation?
Our staff is committed to serving your needs.
I just want something basic. The simpler, the better.
Specializing in simple cremations. Whatever your reasons are for choosing cremation, call Cremation Society of Alaska, 277-2777, or in the Valley, 373-8627, and on the web at alaskacremation.com.
I'm getting older. Do I need to worry about falling?
Yes, you do. Every year, 1 in 4 people 65 and older will experience a fall, and many result in serious injury. The majority of falls happen at home, so take a look around. Replace bulbs and add lighting to help you see obstacles. Remove things that can make you trip. Fix uneven steps and floors, and install handrails in bathrooms and on stairs. Consider balance or strength training exercises, which can help with agility. Get your eyes and hearing checked regularly. Changes in your hearing can affect your balance. To learn more, please talk to your doctor about steps you can take to help prevent a fall. You can also visit aarpfoundation.org or medicaremadeclear.com/falls. This message was brought to you by United Healthcare and AARP Foundation.
What is health? It's more than a number on the scale. It's in the water we drink and the air we breathe. It's reflected in our jobs, our climate, and our community. Our health is holistic. Our health care should be the same. At ANTHC, we're providing clean water and sanitation around the state. We're working in partnership to make homes safer, healthcare treatment smarter, and fulfill our vision that Alaska Native people are the healthiest people in the world.
For women in recovery from drug addiction, a beacon of hope out of Soldotna, and the source of that light, a woman who designed a program based on her own experiences. KTVA's Sierra Starks is here to introduce us to someone who knows what it takes.
Yes, very excited to share this story with you, Rhonda. So June 26th, 2009, it's a special date for a woman named Jennifer Waller. It's the day she got sober. Since then, she's made it her mission to help other women leave the life of drug addiction behind. And now she's taking it a step further by giving them a place to call home while they're in recovery. Transformations take time.
That'll be pretty close up top.
For about 2 months now, volunteers have been spending theirs revamping this building in Soldotna.
A lot of them are here because of a loved one actively in addiction.
Like Jennifer Waller's nephew.
Just anything that needs to be picked up or done, I'd do it.
Gage Charlesworth.
I really care about my mom. She had an addiction.
The peninsula's drug epidemic left him with a broken home.
Having no mother in your life's kind of hard.
And a reason to help.
Yeah, I don't want other kids to go through what I did.
Waller says with each swing of their hammers, these volunteers are stamping these walls with hope.
We are losing people, they are dying from this heroin addiction. I personally have very, very loved ones close to my heart that are actively struggling in the addiction, and it's so hard to see.
Right now, it may not look like much.
I noticed that the women getting out of prison, they would come up to me and say, Jen, do you know anywhere I can go? And Freedom House means hope for my future.
But soon it will be a transition home for women recovering from addiction.
Resume writing, mock interviews, parenting, budgeting. I remember when I got sober, I didn't know how to cook. This bedroom will house 2 girls.
Waller is no stranger to the pull of addiction.
Pills was my drug of choice, Oxycontin, which then turned to black tar heroin, then to meth, cocaine, anything ended up being a garbage can, whatever you can get your hands on. Everything you've just seen is Freedom House.
Now she's putting her hands to better use.
Every morning I wake up, I get up, I pray for them, and I show up to here to sow the hope back into our community.
And the community is backing her up as well.
So we have raised, we're at $138,365.
And not just with their wallets.
But he is such a hard worker. I mean, come on, these volunteers are just pouring sweat. It just blows me away.
Waller says it's proof
that I came from a hopeless, defeated pit.
That no matter how great the need is,
I want to see them make it. I want to see them reunited with their families and their children.
Nothing is impossible. So once it's open, there will be enough room for 8 women at Freedom House, plus 1 resident manager who will live there full time. And they hope to have construction wrapped up by sometime this spring.
So how is the fundraising going for Freedom House?
So they just had their first official fundraiser. It was a chili cook-off. Before that, they had just been taking in donations. They raised $37,000, which now puts them at $230,000, and that's about halfway to where they need to be.
Well, we wish them success.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Sierra. Well, it was 20 years ago today that a 16-year-old boy took a gun to the Bethel High School and opened fire. The shooting rampage lasted about 15 minutes, time enough for Evan Ramsey to take the life of the principal and a fellow student. Well, today, he's housed at the Goose Creek Correctional Center near Wasilla. He's 36 years old with streaks of gray in his hair and plenty of time to reflect on his crime.
There's a part of me that will always be sad.
Sad for you or sad for what you did?
Sad for what I did, but the small amount of sorrow that I have, others feel much more.
Who's really in prison? Evan Ramsey or me?
Claudia Palacio says she's forgiven Ramsey for killing her son, Josh, but she says she can't forget, and we shouldn't either. Well, next week on Frontiers, lessons learned and not learned from the Bethel High School shooting. Not an easy subject, nor was this week's show, but as always, we hope our program spark some good conversations. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week.